Hi, I'm Satyendra, your IELTS trainer, and today we're gonna see the part 1 of writing. But remember, this is for academic only. That means we have two, academic and general training. If you are from general training, that means you're definitely going for work. If you're academic, you're going abroad for study. So if you're planning to study abroad, watch this video, as your writing one will be different than, that is writing part 1 will be different than people who are going for work. Let's begin then. First of all, this will be part 1. That means it has nothing to do that you have to do it first. There are two parts. That is part 1 and part 2. And you can do any of them anytime. Remember, you'll be given total 60 minutes. And they mentioned that, in exam, 20 minutes are recommended for this. Recommended, not necessary. You're not gonna take your paper back because you finished 20 minutes, and 40 minutes are recommended for this. You can take as much as time you want, but if you do in 20, it's much better, because number of words in part 1 is just 150 words. This is just the basic information. What if you want the whole detail, please watch another video I have made on structure of part 1. Now, in this section, you will be writing report. That is for academic. Remember, if you're for general training, we have a separate video for that, understanding what writing part 1 is for academic. For general training. This is only for academic, because in general training, you are supposed to write a letter. In here, we're gonna write a report, and that will be based on a graphic. So as I said, structure is already discussed in previous videos. You don't have to worry about that here, and you won't get anything much in deeper about the structure. What is informed and what is not informed, what is task 1, what is task 2, what are the criteria, and all those things will be already discussed in previous videos. Let's get deeper in the concrete stuff. Task 1 consists of any of the 6 types of the questions. Now, what I mean by any of the 6 types, you won't get more than one question. So you'll be getting one question only, and this one question will be out of these 6 types of questions. And they all will have graphics. So basically, based on one graph or another kind of graph, you will be asked question. And there are 6 kinds of graphs possible or images possible in this task. That is task 1. Out of this, you will get only one type, not all 6, remember. So remember one more thing, you don't have to write introduction or conclusion like we discussed in part 2, or we're going to discuss in part 2. In essays, what we have to do, start our essay with introduction. I think you know this from school. Then we write a body paragraph. Then we write another body paragraph if required. And then finally conclusion. There's no need to write introduction or conclusion in this question type. It is fine. So no need to write introduction separately for that. No need to write conclusion, because we have discussed in videos what is introduction, what is conclusion separately. You don't have to worry about that. Now, no extra information or opinion. Apart from introduction or conclusion, you don't have to provide any extra information. In a question, you'll be asked to write something. You just have to follow the question. In task 2, what you're supposed to do is, there's a question, they ask for your response, your opinion on that. So based on your opinion, you will have different answer. But here, no opinion required. Okay? Make it clear. Good. Here, all you have to do in task 1 is remember the words and the structure. That's it. Remember the words means there are certain words that you do have to include in your writing part 1. And if you know the structure, if you know the question type, you can score easily in part 1. Because you don't have to think of your own ideas, own concepts or anything. Just remembered stuff, or not remembered, let's say understood stuff of all the question types, that is 6. Let's begin with the paragraphs themselves. What I mean by paragraphs is there are 3 different type of paragraphs that you have to write in task 1. All of them should be understood. In short, number 1, paragraph 1 could be a single sentence, and there will be introduction of the graphic. Right. What does it mean by introduction of the graphic? As I said, single sentence could be considered a paragraph. Paragraph 2 will be describe, compare and contrast the graphic. See, This is just a paragraph. When we are seeing an example, it'll get clear. Don't worry about it. It is coming soon. So we have to describe the graphic, compare the information in it, and if there's contrasting, also mention the contrast. That is paragraph 2. And paragraph 3 would be you summarize. By the way, if you write Z here, it's US, and if you write S here, it's UK based. There's no difference. There's nothing is incorrect. Summarize means whatever information you got, you just mention something interesting in it, and then that is fine. You don't have to create a conclusion for that. Okay, now let's see the types of reports. The one which you're waiting for, the concrete types. Okay, so these are the 6 types, in which the first one is called a line graph or a graph itself. The second one is called a pie chart. This is called a bar chart. Don't call it bar graph, it's called bar chart. This one, as the fourth one, is called an image or process, describing a process. Here, this one is called a map. Show the difference in a map. You see there are 2 different maps. And the last one, tables. In exam, you might get lines here, in the form of rows and columns, but I have formed 2 different tables. You have to describe the table. 6 different question types. You might get any of this, like you might get line graph, you might get pie chart, you might get a map, any of this. Okay. Now let's see line graph and bar chart together. Why together? Because they have most of the things similar, very few differences. Right, the first, let's see in detail what it looks like. What is in the line graph. In line graph, we have these kind of lines which are showing the trend. Some sales are increasing or carbon emission increasing or decreasing, whatever. But in bar chart, they have a number here which is mentioned using bars. These could be not just vertical but horizontal as well. What I mean by that, the part-time, voluntary work, further study and unemployment could be here, in this form, like this. It could be vertical or horizontal. But when we have a bar, it is called bar chart. Good. This is an example of a bar chart. You might have 2 in there. You have to explain both or compare both. So question will be like this. The charts below show what UK graduate and graduate students, postgraduate student who did not get into full-time work did after leaving college in 2008. Right? So this example will show how it works. So here we have graduates, here we have postgraduates. You can compare both bar charts. We'll see how to compare. This will be always the same. This is called information. That will be common all the time. Question is here and your chart are here. It could be 1 or 2 depending on the question. Another example is line graph. The graph below shows average carbon dioxide emissions per person in United Kingdom, Sweden, Italy and Portugal between 1967 and 2007. Clear? So this will be a line graph where they show the increase in the carbon dioxide or decrease. These are the mentioned details about the graph, and we can understand later how it works. This is a question type I'm explaining. Okay. Now remember, in a line graph, trend is important. What I mean by trend is you see that trend increasing, decreasing and going down, and sudden increase, sudden decrease. These are called trends. However, in case of bar chart, trend plus grouping is important. What I mean by grouping is, see, earlier we have seen this image. Here we have part-time, voluntary work, further study and unemployment. We could create a group of these, or we could create 2 groups. Group 1 is graduate, group 2 is postgraduate, to form paragraphs. So in this case, grouping plus trend is important, that what is changing, what is increasing, what is decreasing, that is also important. Last but not the least, title is always important in both. It gives the information about the graph. Now if you look here, this is the title of a graph. This is the title of a graph. This gives the information, most of it through titles. Here the x-axis and y-axis information gives us information as well. So you got my point. What is this title and how trends and grouping is different? Good. Let's see in both example what we discussed earlier. This is the title. I'm revising myself. And what other 2 things? Trend. Trend is important in line graph as well as bar graph. But grouping is important in bar chart. In bar chart, we have also important is this grouping. Can we group using these, or can we group using postgraduate and graduates? Clear? Good. Now let's see what happens. What do we write in first sentence? Now we're gonna go sentence wise what to write, or paragraph wise what to write in our line graph or bar chart. The first sentence could be called a first paragraph. That means a single sentence can form a full paragraph. Clear? You don't have to create anything new. One single sentence equal to one paragraph. Possible. Now, that also gonna describe your graph in short. That means in a single sentence, you're gonna describe the whole graph, right? What we mentioned to you. Let me give an example. This is the question we had. The graph shows average carbon dioxide emission. So we have this whole question and we have this image. Let me get rid of this image and show you how you can write the first sentence of your question. The graph illustrates the emission of carbon dioxide in 4 countries, namely United Kingdom, Sweden, Italy, and Portugal for 4 decades between 1967 and 2007. What have I done in this case? Now look. I have included all the information required from the question and from the graph, and I have written in different words. You know what I mean by that? Paraphrased it. If I just directly copy paste here, not gonna work. See, you can change few things here, which I have written my way. You can change from illustrates to shows, sheds light on, informs, or just anything. But it's important that you start with this. Okay, good. This is the first sentence as well as first paragraph. Then you have to change the paragraph of the graph. Paragraph 2 describes the detail, the trend, and the contrast which we have mentioned. Okay, now look here. What's going to happen? Isn't this increasing? And there's sudden decrease, but this is not a sudden decrease. This is a slow decrease. You see that all these things are important. We are going to see them in detail. So there are 5 possible trends. You know, all these trends, we have 5 possible trends including line graph plus bar chart. Let's see all the trends one by one with examples and images. The first trend is slight increase. Where do we see slight increase? You see here slight increase. You see that? So we're going to use the word expanded, grew, climbed, rose, stepped up, picked up. Any of these words you can use, or something like the carbon dioxide increased or grew in this number from this to this year. You can mention these words. Now, in order to emphasize, you can say moderately or slightly. See, these are adverbs. So if you're using the words as, to show increase as verbs, let's take an example. Moderately rose. That means it increased moderately. So this is what we have as a verb, and to enhance the verb we have always adverbs. What if we use an adjective? Then we have to change the word to a noun. Adjectives always describe a noun. So adjective plus noun, adverbs plus verbs. In this case, if I want to use, let's say, gradual. So I'm going to say gradual increase or gradual rise. That means the rise overall, this is a rise as a noun. So there's a gradual rise rather than saying it rose gradually. That is adverb. Okay, so you get the difference. You can use any of these. If it's up to you, you can interchange sometime. But in order to show slight, you have to use these adverbs and adjectives. Good. Second one is slight decrease. You see here, there's a slight decrease compared to this one. And this is what we call slight decrease, not sudden, slight. So you can say reduced instead of decrease, went down, decreased, dropped, declined, and fell. All of these are verbs. And if you remember, what do we use to describe verbs? Adverbs. Same adverbs you can use, same adjectives can use. So for example, slightly declined. So these are slightly declined carbon dioxide emissions. Got my point? And if you want to use adjective, then you have to use the word as noun. You have to complete. So the minimal reduction, instead of reduce, reduction. Gradual reduction can be seen from this to that. So that's what I mean by adverb plus verb. However, for adjective, it's always with a noun. Well, if you don't understand this, or if you need to know more and get more information about them, please watch the video about parts of speech, which we have posted in a verb section. In a grammar section. Good. Now, third one is dramatic increase. If there's a dramatic increase, there's sudden increase. You see that there's a dramatic increase here. And you could see a dramatic increase, almost dramatic, but it is big increase, right? There's a huge, it grew exponentially. So in order to explain this, we can also have adverbs, but different ones. And same goes for adjectives. Significantly, rapidly, steeply, substantially, considerably. All these words can be used in order to show the increase or dramatic increase. A huge amount of increase. Now, adjectives can be created from them. So significantly becomes significant. Rapidly can become rapid. Sometimes it's so easy just to remove ly and it makes sense, but not always. Now look at this word considerably. You cannot just remove ly and it will work out. These are some exceptions. So you have to use considerable. So it was considerable increase or considerable rise. So this rise and increase are nouns. If you want to use grew or expanded, you have to use it grew significantly. Got it? To show dramatic increase. And so goes for. Now, in this case, see, earlier we have discussed you can use adverbs and adjectives to show dramatism, like to show dramatic increase. What if I don't want to? Then I don't need to use any of these if I use such words. It soared, it escalated, it rocketed, it shot up or jumped. These words themselves are emphasized, or they don't need adverbs and adjectives to be shown dramatism. Get my point? If you use the previous words, you use these adverbs and adjectives to show dramatic increase. However, if you don't want to use adverbs and adjectives, use these words. They are already showing dramatic increase. Clear? Good. And the next one is dramatic decrease. You can see it here. There's a dramatic decrease in this, and you can use the word reduced, went down, decreased, dropped, declined, or fell. Same one which we use in slight decrease as well. And same adverbs and adjective we can use. You can pause the video and just take notes from this so that you can remember. Finally, what if we don't want to use them? The adverbs and adjective, we can ignore them here and we use this part directly. Collapsed, slumped, crashed, plunged, plummeted. What I mean by this is, you see, the plummeted word can be used directly. The carbon dioxide emission plummeted. That's it. You don't have to use the words like significantly plummeted. What does it even mean, right? You got my point. If you want to show dramatism, you use adverbs and adjective, but with different words. These words themselves can be understood without adverbs and adjectives. Good. And the final one, you don't need anything. There's just steady. For example, if you look here in this part, the emission remains steady. There's not much change. So you can say between year 1977 and 1987, the carbon dioxide emission stayed at a constant level, or stabilized at this number, or flattened out at this number, or leveled off. You got my point? These words can show steadiness. That means it's plateaued out and didn't increase or decrease. There was no change in that. And you don't need any adjectives or adverbs because those were to show a dramatism. Here we don't need on any of that. Cool? Good. I know this was a lot of information in line graph and bar chart. I suggest you watch it with notes, okay? Now, next one, that is third one, is pie chart. Pie chart looks completely different. I think you have seen plenty of the time in your school and in PPTs. This is what a pie chart looks like, where we have a circle which denotes all the information we need about the whatever it is, like for example British students, these are the 100% of them. This is always in percent, and what percent is which thing. For example, in this here, no other language they are learning or they speak is this one. Dark blue is another language. So this information is provided using a graphical method called pie chart. Let's see how we solve them. This is kind of question you get. You might get two pie charts in a single question. You might get single pie chart. Generally you get two. The chart below shows the portion of British students at one university in England who were able to speak other languages in addition to English in 2000 as well as 2010. We have 2000 here and 2010 here. That means two pie charts are separate. They have different information. All you have to do is gain that information from the image plus the question. Question will give you information about what the pie chart is about. And these pie chart themselves will give you what are we talking in the question. Like for example, what are we talking about the British students or who can speak other languages apart from English. Okay, cool. Now, an earlier thing, we have seen this introduction, the first sentence will stay the same, no change. So we're going to say something like the pie chart describes or illustrates the part of students, British students at one university in England who can speak other languages apart from English, and those are shown in year 2000 as well as 2010. So different words. Basically, the most important information in pie chart that has to be separated is these three things. The first one is written form, how it differs than the percentage, and how it differs from the fraction. By the way, when we have a percent sign in front of a number, we cannot call it percentage. So this cannot be said 50%. It's called 50%. But if there is no number included, we can call it percentage, like a large percentage of people. Okay. So a half is called 50% or 1/2. A third is called 33% or 1/3. 2/3, 66%, 2/3. 3/4, 75%, 3/4. A quarter, 25%, 1/4. So these are in fractions, these are in words, first thing which we have seen. And here we have seen in percentage. You can say 50%, 25% to dinner. Why am I giving you this information? So that you don't repeat yourself. You see, there's a lot of information here. Sometimes it's just almost 25%, just even below that. So what if you have to describe the same thing here? For example, this one is equal to the yellow one, the green one here. You don't have to use the word like, it is almost 25%, because you can use next time a quarter. If you remember, we have something called lexical resource where we have said you have to use synonyms. And that's the reason I'm trying to provide you as many synonyms as possible. Let it be in written form or percentage form or fraction form. Okay. All right. Next one is table. And you know how a table looks like, right? Table looks like you have a row. These are all rows and these are columns. So these are all rows which are horizontal, vertical one are columns, and you have information mentioned here. It could be a single table or it could be two tables. So let's see a question based on a table. The tables below give information about sales of fair trade, labeled coffee and bananas in 1999 and 2004 in 5 European countries. So 5 European countries, I don't think they have mentioned them. Yes, they did here. So you have to watch out this information. They have mentioned only 5 European countries here. Have they mentioned the name? No. You get the name from the table itself. Right. It could be a single table. It could be two different tables. Now they have separated table based on the commodities they have used. Coffee and banana. Clear? So the question plus table will give you enough information to write the first sentence which we have discussed earlier. Good. Second one, and there's no difference between tables and other graphs or pie chart. Everything stays the same. That is, first you write first paragraph or first sentence you write about the table and the question. Second, you discuss the details plus contrast and compare what happened in 1999. However, what changed? what is the most interesting information, and all those stuff. And part 3 is just you summarize, saying that, all right, so this was the biggest change and this was the least change thing. Like, this always stayed the same. There's no change in this part. So you see that what I mean by that? Like, for example, in the conclusion, or the last part, you can say, it's not conclusion by the way, ending, you can say the biggest change was in banana, that in 2004 it used to be 47 the sales. However, in 2004, other than the case of coffee, it was 20. Comparatively, it was less than half. Right. So these are the, you can have speculations on that. Now we have process diagram. Process diagram is a diagram which shows a process, simply speaking. So this is a cement production as well as concrete production. And they're asking you to write 2 different images. That's fine. Sometimes you get a single image to show a single process. Sometimes you get 2. Process diagrams are a little bit tricky. Let me show you what happens in there, what kind of question you get. So the diagrams below show the stages and equipment used in cement making process, and how cement is used to produce concrete for building purposes. You see that what is happening here. Cement production, and then the cement is taken here and it is continued below. So how the cement is used in concrete production is also shown, and hence you have to discuss process from here. Arrow goes like this, and you go on the top of this process of production and you end till here. This is a process diagram. Let's remember one thing. Use the headings to understand the image. What are the headings? You can see here: cement production, concrete production. You have gravel equal to small stones. That means we get information, Apart from that, we have also information about what is happening in the diagram. These are called rotating heaters. This is called power. This is called a crusher. So headings do provide information about the image. Second thing, we have to understand the flow. Where does it start from? I think images are themselves very clear. They start from here, limestone and clay being added in a crusher, where they are formed in a powder shape, go through a mixture, and then go in the same diagram like this, which they have shown. Here cement and water is added, which go and later this also added, and finally here. So the flow has to be known to you. You understand the flow and write according to the flow. You cannot suddenly write about rotating heater or, let's say, gravel. You have to write in the flow. Clear? Moreover, use verbs. What I mean by use verbs is, mix them. Mix them is a verb. The mixer takes the powder in, and what it takes out, it takes it to the rotating heater. What rotating heater does, when the heat is provided, it rotates apart from that. And what does grinder do? Grinding. So all these processes, what are they doing? They are doing some action, because this is all an action. Verbs are always important in case of action, right? Because what are verbs? Well, they are word of action, right? That's what I mean. Always use plenty of the verbs based on what is happening. Let's take an example. Limestone and clay are crushed in this machine called crusher and created in the form of powder. So this word crushed is a verb. Same way, for every equipment we must have a verb. Is it mixing? Is it grinding? Is it filtering? Is it heating? All these are verbs. Clear? Cool. Now, there are words to describe sequence. See, I told you it is a process. That means you have to understand the flow. That means sequence is the most important part. And what are the words? First, then, next. When it is ready, then, next, then, finally. You can use in any sequence. Of course, first should come first and finally should come in the end. But you can do it according to the image. So you say first this and that, whatever the thing is, mixed to create a powder. Then it is passed to the boiler. Next to that, this thing, when the powder is mixed and it is ready, you take it to the next level. Without these words, it is very difficult to create a process in a person's mind who's reading. This will create a sequence in the person's mind who's reading, and eventually they can imagine that image. You know what I mean by that? So there's an image where we have processes, where we have process 1, process 2, process 3, and it is going in this sequence. If you tell them first it is boiling, second is this, third is, let's say, filtering. If you use these words, first that's happened, then this happened, and finally the last process happens, it's so damn easy for others to understand. So please use the words of sequence. Okay. Now, in order to describe a process, we use passive voice. What is passive voice? Let me explain. Passive voice is just a way of saying things where we put the object first, not the subject. For an example, in active voice, first clean the door of the chamber. Good. Now let's see in the passive voice. First the door is cleaned. Yeah, I mean, door of the chamber, you can say that is cleaned. Here, cleaning is the important. That means your action is important. Here, the door is important. You can say door of the chamber, no problem. What I mean to show you here is your cleaning will go in the end. So passive voice means your object is important, not the action itself. Here, the action comes first. That is passive voice. If you want more detail or a detailed explanation of what passive voice is, what kind of passive voice we have, then please go through the grammar series and that you can get it. Good. Now the last one, but not the least, is map. What happens in map is you're given two different, and in a single image, two different diagrams. That is, both of them are same thing, but some change, like a school diagram, a beach diagram, or an island diagram, where you have to explain what changed in this map in 1 year or other year. So they might give you like 1910 and 2010. You have to show the difference, what happened in this year and this year. That's your task to do. You see that here there were trees earlier, there were no houses, or whatever the change is there. In order to show changes, we have to use change verbs. But before that, let's see how the question is being created. The two maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. Right. Here this is before the construction of facilities. This is after the construction of facilities. From the question you understand what is this, what are these maps about. Second thing, from the map itself you can see the change. Both of them will contribute to the answer. The most important part of maps are the possible words you can show change, like reconstruct, expand, improve, modernize, extend, renovate, reduce, develop, add, remove, replace. If you look at it, all of them have the meaning. Reconstruct means something which is already there, but break it and create it again. Expand means, let's say I have a small house, but in later years I make it bigger. That is expand. Improve means it's okay, but I make it better later. That is improvement. Same way, all the words, if you don't understand, please search about them. They are important, all of these words. They are like 11 words. If you can connect with the image here and see which word can be added. See, overall, it was what? It was modernized and developed both. What was reduced? Well, there must be something. Right, here, something called developed can be used here. However, we removed some of the plants and added this. What was added? A bridge was added, so that was also here. These words can be used to show the change in the map. And I guess you can see here, I kept this part for you to check which can be created, which can be done. Here we don't need to use reconstructed because nothing was constructed earlier. So that can be gone. Second one is there anything expanded? Of course not. We didn't expand an island, right? That is done. Improve. Did we improve on anything? Nope. Yes, we did modernize. We create modern design in the island. Did we extend anything? No, we didn't extend except for this plier part which was added, not expanded anyway. Did we renovate? No, renovation was not there. Anything reduced? If you look at the number of trees, no, they were not reduced, except for some parts they were replaced. Few trees were replaced, that's it. Any development seen? Yes. added? Yes, of course, we added the house. Did we remove anything? Yes, a few trees here and there, that's it. What did we replace with anything? No, we didn't replace, we just added few things. You see how these words, try to remember them all and use them in your map when you get in the exam. And with that, we end our chapter where we saw how writing task 1 is created, with how paragraphs are written, and most importantly, each question type was discussed and what to write in each. All right, I hope you understood this video, and if any doubt, please ask question using email ID, as well as you can write in comments. Have a nice time. Bye bye.